What's up guys, this is Sean Tan, and for this episode, Gavin and I, which is my boss in the Makeover Guys, we kind of did an episode about mistakes that we both do during our property investment journey. And this was done for other usages, but since they use already, and I think it's really useful for everybody here as well. So this was the interview that I had with him. Enjoy.
So today we are going to somewhat discuss about the mistakes during property investment journey.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
And like it's very easy for us to just do like a top 10, like more gambak kind of things.
But I think that's pretty boring, right?
I think it's not real enough.
Correct.
So I kind of decided. Yeah, I kind of decided. Took the liberty to do it. We're going to go through the entire purchasing journey.
Correct.
And we see and somewhat like if you have any mistakes you want to share. Like I have a lot lah.
I also have a lot. Yeah. So at least now you can learn from us.
Yeah.
And I like the way that let's structure it in a chronological way, right? Because by lumping property investment, I think it can be a bit too big and too long and too vague, right? And ultimately we want to make sure that we come up with mistakes that we maybe have experienced, so that you don't have to go through the same mistakes.
Yes, exactly.
Different
100%.
stages. Yeah.
And sometimes statements are also too general. Like if I'm 21 versus 31,
Correct.
right? Different, 51, different, right? So let's just jump right into it. The very first thing and process, when do you had the intent to invest?
Well, if you ask me, I think as early as possible, as long as you're financially capable. So I guess, now, how do you define financially capable, right? I think there's really no hard rule, but I would think that you need to really focus on your primary income first in order to work on secondary income, which could be property investment.
Yep.
I would say a benchmark of at least 5,000 ringgit a month. So I think that's a good start.
Yeah, so minimum advice should be around 5,000.
Yeah.
But personally, like when did you realize that, hey, property investment might be a thing?
Oh, I think I realized it a bit too late actually. Well, I started investing in properties, I think, only when I was like 30. Today, I think things have changed. I see young people jumping in the property bandwagon as early as 25. And I think it's great. But we need to be vigilant and we need to be a bit careful on doing it because it's not all fine and dandy.
Yeah, and that's exactly the point I was going to. Like young people now are buying not only for investment purposes. It's an ego thing.
Correct.
It's a fulfillment of responsibility.
Correct. Asian culture, right?
Yeah, then set by the parents. If you got no property, you are a loser.
Yeah.
That you are subpar in the society. And those might be the wrong reasons.
Correct.
If you want to go into property investment. If you're going to impress people using your portfolio but only one BG, then what's the point, right? And a lot of people, because they just want to close the deal, close the expectation, chin chai buy one.
Chin chai bai. And I think that's one of the biggest mistake that you can make, right? Because we are talking about 30, 35 years commitment. Yeah. If you buy the wrong one, it's painful.
Then also it needs to match your ambition. Like if you want to just cari makan gaji all the way in a very big company, very good. If stability is on your side, it's very good. But if you are like Gavin trying to start up a company, do business, right? Cash flow is the thing.
Correct.
And the way you got money, you did not spend, Let's think about your startup days, right? Then if you think, will a property make sense in that stage, right?
Yeah.
Then it's very, very different. So a cool fact, a Tan Sri that I in distance know, not my personal friend, he started investing in 55. After he set up his public listed company, let's not name who, and he bought buildings after buildings after buildings.
So it goes to show, right? No matter what age you are, the strategy may be different.
Yeah.
Yeah, but always invest based on your current
Yep.
ambition or your current situation, financial situation, stability.
Don't invest to fulfill other people's expectation.
Correct.
I think so. That's very important. Right. Moving on. Then, how do you decide between own stay and investment?
I think a very common mistake a lot of people have when they buy a property is not making this decision from the get-go.
Oh,
you know?
yes.
So I think this is very common, right? And up until today, we also get a lot of cases where we are asked to renovate a home, and during the renovation, the most crucial question is, hey, do you want to renovate for rent or you want to renovate for own stay? The process is very different, and a lot of them will say, hey, see lah, if you can rent out, cannot rent out, own stay lah.
Like they play tikam that one.
Correct. But it's not wrong, but it's not the most optimal way of doing things, because the criteria and selection of buying an investment property is really more on facts, right? And numbers and comparisons to rental yield and all. But for own stay, who cares about rental yield, right? If I love that place, the facilities is good place for my kids to grow up in, by all means, go ahead. Of course, the price has to be fair lah.
Yeah.
Don't overpay.
So I think a common friend also teach this a lot in his doings is we follow the market price. I think the median price.
Median price. Correct.
Yeah, so I think in every location it's very important that you know, just to make sure you are not overpaying for a particular apartment. When the neighbor is 500 per square feet, you go and buy 700 per square feet just because you really love it.
Correct.
Your pocket must be really, really deep lah.
Well, if you can afford it, by all means, right? Yeah.
And then also a theory that we used to share a lot will be the Kailan theory.
Correct.
Right? So maybe you want to share about the Kailan theory.
Right. So if I'm suddenly tasked with a mission, right, to go and buy Kailan in the market.
Until today, I still don't know how much is spaghetti.
Correct. And if I've never cooked before in my whole entire life, right, if I walk in the market and I'm being offered vegetable at what price, I wouldn't know whether this is expensive or this is cheap. So even, in the most fundamental things, I need to visit a few markets, right?
Yeah.
I need to go supermarket, I need to go to a proper air conditioner and look at the difference, what are the different types. And this theory actually applies to everything in life, including property investment.
Yes.
And because property investment is such an intimidating, big, hairy, audacious goal to a lot of people, they may find it intimidating to actually do a lot of all this due diligence, or they don't familiarize themselves with the per square feet price of that area and all. I think it's the same lah. Just go to all the markets, find out how much each Kailan costs, the different types of Kailan in the market. Then you will have the information to make an informed decision.
Yes, absolutely. And after you make in the decision, like, okay, this is for own stay, this is for investment, okay? Now, what's weird to me is a lot of audience, they ask me, can rent out me? And with all the information online, like you go to all the property portals, like the Airbnb website, right, or iBelay website, whatever lah. You can either choose to do room rentals, you want to choose whole unit, fully furnished or not. Everything allows you to make a better informed decisions, but it's still leceh lor. I think a lot of people still find it very, very leceh.
Leceh lah.
And back then, I'm very confident. I'm younger lah. But back then, like, the data was not as transparent also.
Correct.
It's really hardcore, go to agent and see room by room, right? And when everything is just laid out like that, then nobody wants to use it, right?
Today is so much easier, because you can actually go to, some sites where you can actually see the last transacted price for free, right? Top last 20 transacted sites for free. I think it's so much easier today. Last time it was just hardcore. Hey, how much?
Then like the whole contact list is all agents.
Correct.
Right. Then after making that decision, we then need to decide whether you want to go for new property, auction property, sub-sale, or bulk purchases. And back then, your first property, was it a sub-sale or was it a...
My first property was a sub-sale.
And how was that, the hunting journey like?
Well, before I decided to buy that property, I think I visited at least I visited like 40, 50 properties.
40?
Yeah. So I spent all my weekends hunting for properties until I found the right one. And it took me a long time also. Because it's sub-sale, right? So being an open market, everyone had their own asking prices.
Yeah.
Basically, so this also comes with the next common mistake, not having a plan. So a plan also includes, what is your maximum buy price? It's very easy to get emotional, right?
Yes.
So I think it's good to have that beforehand. So with your target buying price and then searching the surrounding rental rates and all that, then only you go and hunt. So of course, no money ma. So my target buying price also not very high ma. So it took me a while get to know a lot of agents. Had to show all the agents that I'm really sincere. And
you bring a checkbook.
Yeah, bring checkbook. Correct. And when opportunity came, at least you're on their mind. Then they will let you know, hey, I got something that is around this price range. Are you interested?
Yeah.
So actually, the whole journey took me around 4 to 6 months actually. Yeah. First property ma.
Yeah.
Scared.
So, mine was also similar. But what the sentiment that I get from my audience from the YouTube channel is a lot of people now going for new properties. And the expectations are absolutely different. Like we always kena fong fei gei by agents. We missed out timing, so we meet up landlords sometimes not as friendly. And sometimes the unique condition all very different. Sometimes the but some very nice, but then the price also very high. So there will be a lot of variance. But when we go to new property sales galleries, right?
It's a lot more straightforward.
A lot more straightforward, and all the hassle has been cleared. Now you can walk in with style, drink coffee under air condition and things like that. But you always walk out with a booking one.
Just go through their sales funnel.
you are a part of the sales funnel, and don't know why, right? Suddenly we are talking about like whether you want to buy or not, like which unit, right? And even if you cannot afford, let's figure it out lah, right? How to work off the loan. And that's another common mistake that I really see, that if you don't have the discipline to say no, you don't have the discipline to fulfill 20. I said 20, you see, Gavin went 40 sub-sale and now 20 new properties, right? It's just drinking 20 different coffees at 20 different venues. So if you don't want to do all that research, right, the chances of you coming across a good deal is going to be just less lor. And that is going to be all the difference, because buying, the buying price determines everything.
Correct. So I think buying price, you need to factor in margin of safety lah. Right? So it's not to say, you buy property and then just magically, you appreciate and all that. Maybe a long period of time, but we don't know for sure, right? So I think there must be a strategy as well.
I think your strategy here means the installment plan, is it?
Correct. The installments, using rental to offset installments, or at least partial to knock off at least the interest portion. Then when you pay off the principal, that can be considered for savings, which may be a good thing. So to me, having clarity on that strategy is very important before you actually pull the trigger to actually buy.
That also brings me to my point. I silang everything for my first property. I only had like 30,000 and the unit was 300,000. So I thought 10% was enough. Then the lawyer called for lawyer fee,
Stamp duty,
valuation fee, this fee, that fee. I need to borrow money or whatsoever just to make it through. And it was very scary. So then the constant fear of the unit not being able to be rented out, right? So like what you said, I think it's very important, the strategy of having a plan and the margin for safety, like how many months of not tenanted period of time you can afford.
Yeah.
Right, the downtime.
And also your entry price, whether, compared to surrounding properties, your per square feet price, is there a margin of safety? Are you buying at below market, below median, or are you paying above median rates? So if you're buying above median rates, then I think you need to be even more careful about the second part of your strategy, which is the actual letting out or even exit, right, selling. If you're buying at below median rate, then I think you have more margin of safety.
Yep. And then after deciding like whether you want new property or sub-sale, then some people choose to go into auction.
Correct.
I think now I think it's way better. Like now everything is digitalized, right? You don't have all the side hustle kind of.
You get e-bid, right?
Now everything is e-bid, but the kiasuism, especially people like me, too competitive, right? Most of the deals that are closed lately are all above market rate.
Yep. I mean, again, it's a highly emotional situation, right? When you're vested, you click, you're vested in it. So it's easy to get competitive. Like me also, I stay away from auctions because I know I'll turn into a competitive monster. And then
Die one. Yeah, so and the condition of the house, I think certain agents let you check the unit first, but there's this term called as is where is basis.
Yep.
A lot of people need to understand, meaning if you look into the unit, you like it, you bought it, but inside there's a hole, you need to live with it.
yeah.
And
And also the encumbrances that come along with it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is the maintenance fees that is berlambat-lambat.
Outstanding or years of electricity bills. So do your due diligence.
Or the worst thing is private caveat.
Yeah, or there's a private caveat.
So caveat means it's a obstruction for the deal to proceed through until he gets his share to release. So I think that is one of the biggest no if you're going for auction property. Because if you are not familiar with all these terms, like the fact that if you think what we are just mumble around terms throwing here and there trying to impress each other, right? If you think those are terms that you don't understand, just kind of stay away from caveat for a while and don't jump into it. Because like you say, it's emotional, it's dangerous. Yes, you will get deals, but these kind of deals you can also find via bulk purchases.
Yep.
But bulk purchases, there are several channels. Some are from gurus online that you can see. You just need to be choosing the right strategy that suits your need. Right? I think, what do you think about bulk purchasing?
I think it's a great channel, right, for someone who is new to property to actually, ride along and enjoy benefits. But of course, this situation also is prone to a lot of, other misadventures, I will call it, right? So you need to be very mindful of who you're following, whether that person is credible, how long has he been doing it for. Again, due diligence.
No other shortcut. So one of the mistakes there will be choosing to not be accountable for your own decisions in investment. Like I paid money, so I follow what he teach. He asked me to buy more, I buy. But when I end up with a lot of bad choices in property, right, it's only you facing the bank.
Correct.
Right? And he made his bread and that's it. Legally, there's nothing much that you can really do, unfortunately. But all the people then choose to point fingers like, hey, it's you, not me, or he asked me to buy one, but on legal terms, it's no one forced anybody to sign the dotted lines.
Correct. So I guess the common mistake when it comes to bulk purchases is to be very, very clear that ultimately you are the one who will be accountable for the purchase. Ultimately, you are the one who will be servicing the loan. I know it can sound really, really too good to be true, or it can sound really great on paper, but bear in mind, you are the only one that will bear the consequences if it does go south.
So that's not. Don't get us wrong. I think it's not like we are saying they are bad.
Correct.
Personally, we are also beneficiaries of.
Correct. I also ride along, right?
Yeah. So we made money from all those deals. Yeah. But when it's not done in a manner of informed, it's not done in a manner of within your risk appetite whatsoever, then you cannot bear the downtime or downturn of economy, then unfortunately right?
Which comes to my next point. Actually, I want to add a little bit, right? Buy only what you can afford.
Yes.
Yes,
This is good.
So I know, it sounds like no brainer, right? But I've seen so many people get, buy more than they can afford because of
greed.
Yeah, cashbacks or the rebates that's given, or how the property is being sold undervalued, and receiving cash back upon purchase. It sounds damn good to be true. It is lah.
But technically, like we have came across so many different kind of deals like that. The strategy works.
Correct.
The executor of the deal, not necessarily all the time. Because suddenly when you have 300,000 in your bank account, if you're not trained,
if you're not disciplined, right, it's very easy to just go on your Europe holiday, right? Because now you have money in the bank.
Yeah. And those are meant for rainy days. Those are meant for the renovation plan later on for you to tahan 6 months. Suddenly when you spend all and you have an empty unit, then you choose to point fingers, right? most of the time, that's also one of the common things that we see lah.
Yeah.
Right? Unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
But again, I think both of us made purchases and great ones. Like he has a lot lah. But he started way earlier. But anyway.
But this also links back again to the Kailan theory. Right? If you yourself, you are informed, you know what is standard per square feet price, then going on into bulk deals and all that, there's no problem because you have informed decision. But if you only choose to listen to one side of the story and you execute based on that, without familiarizing yourself with the market rates, standard rates, the offering, the different type of Kailan, that's when you fall, you have a greater risk lah.
So a trick that my audience did, so there was a bulk deal and they went to the sales gallery of the project itself. So they compare like, okay, a walk-in, this is the price I'm going to get.
The bulk, right?
Versus the bulk, this is the deal I'm going to get. Then suddenly, okay, then it's legit, not only one-sided.
Correct.
But not necessarily all the deals are like that.
Correct. I've seen deals where it's supposed to be bulk, but actually you walk in.
Also got one.
Or maybe even because the sales guy is desperate to close the deal, right? He can throw in more freebies.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so that's the channels of buying. Then after when we really execute, let's say we are buying a property. I think just now, let's stick with the apartment. So what's a margin that you think affordable is?
What is affordable to me? I think affordable, this word is so relative, right?
Correct. That's why. What's your definition? Like when you invest, when your first one, right? What made you think, okay, you know what, I can afford?
Okay, so I would say the range between, let's say, installments are within 20-30% of your fixed income. I think that's a solid figure to work with, in terms of serving your installment. And one more criteria I like, right? So I'm a bit conservative. So when I do buy investment properties, I tend to buy things that the general Malaysian can afford.
Okay. So you choose the range that you want to buy in.
Correct. So the price range, right? So because it's very easy to get sidetracked, because something that's over $1 million have so many facilities, right? As compared to something that's maybe $400,000 to $500,000. And it's very easy to get swayed to that luxurious living. But it also means that your revenue stream will then be limited. Because number one, if Malaysians can't afford it, means rental, you only have expats, etc. to rent to. So to me, deciding and knowing the revenue streams that you have is also important before actually making the purchase.
And this is defined individually, right?
Correct. Everyone has their own different. But it's very important that you know your game plan before you start purchasing. Again, a common mistake is a lot of people don't have that game plan.
Blur go in masuk. Kena apa pun tak tahu. And that brings me to my next point, because I am pretty used to hear a lot of people just like, hey, loan pass. Then only ask me want to buy or not. So the common pitch when you walk into sales galleries, developers are going to hate me, or salesperson are going to hate me. Try loan lah. When they see like you somewhat heart itchy, they want to buy, right? Try loan lah. Later can cancel one, it's okay one. And once you try, you went through all the hardship of submitting documents, then you get the loan approved with this, suddenly, you know what, just go ahead lor.
Yeah, because you're invested.
Yeah.
You're invested by time or other things like you're emotionally invested.
Then when you cannot afford, then when the banks tell you cannot afford already, you have parties trying to convince you to, hey, share names lah, hey, use your, but you got siblings or not lah, you got wife or not lah, use your mother's one lah, use your whatsoever. And that's one of the mistakes also, correct. I think, right?
I also think so.
So like if you if it's a for sure win, for sure make a lot of money when you include your family in, fine. But if you have so much confidence, right? I haven't come true before.
How do you know for sure, right? Nobody knows for sure.
So there's no such situation. So like personally, until today, I'm still buying everything on my own.
Same.
Right.
Yeah.
So unless when not enough income to buy that dream house. So this is the one that I kind of got popular for, is to not buy with your lover. Right? So like, don't make dream home such a big thing. If it's dream home, then it's meant to be beyond affordability. Then one side of the relationship, right, will work like not animal, but but work really, really hard for 25 days just to pay the loan every month. Then the quality of life, right? And this is not certain. Like, even you get married already, right? It's not certain also. So I have, again, people sharing their story. Husband and wife bought the property, then they divorce, but they still stay in the same house. That is so awkward. Suddenly husband and wife become roommate, right? Just because to split the title, to split the ownership, the legal fees, right, is a lot of money.
Correct.
And it's very, very sticky because each other want to give each other hell. Yeah, so coming back to reality, and what I think he thinks the same as well, is to try to get the first one yourself, right?
Yeah, I think you really need to go through the process yourself, and there are benefits of doing it on your own as well. Because if the bank rejects your loan, obviously it's beyond your means, right? So to me, that's a very good indication that of doing some self-reflection. Am I biting off more than I can chew? The second part is all of us have this quota for 90% loan. And the minute you do a joint name to get that loan, it
burns both sides.
Burns both people's quota. And to me, that is an opportunity cost. So instead of having 4 properties, of maybe a couple, and
90.
Now, suddenly, gone.
Yeah. So, and during your loan application back then, right, were there things that you wish you know?
I wish I knew how to calculate DSR back then.
Big one.
Yeah, so I think that's a big topic. But now that if you know how banks qualify and validate loans, it makes it so much easier for you to do a self-review to know whether you qualify for a loan as well.
You want to talk more about your secrets thing? Like, I attended his class. So like back then, I attended his sharing session about secrets. Then what came to our surprise is most people don't even know what is there.
Correct. Most people don't even know what is secrets, or how to read the information in secrets. Again, this is talking about if you're serious about wanting to buy a property, although you may think that I just want to buy one, but it's a few $100,000 purchase, right? Do some homework and just familiarize yourself. Go to the market. Find out how much the veggie should be, what the process of buying. Do learn about that.
So my experience, I wish I know how to read CTOS. So now you can generate for, I think, $25.
Yeah, it's quite cheap.
Then you can see like whether your chances of getting the loan is there or not. Like, suddenly you will find out like credit cards that you have never seen before.
The annual fee that I didn't use, then I'm late.
Yeah, so suddenly you are late for 3 months for $8 outstanding. That affects your credibility a lot. Well, there are a lot of ways to just kind of like go around it or reset it or whatsoever. If you really want to buy, and then there are ways to go around it. We won't share it here. Anyway, also I wish that I knew how to calculate income more. Because if you are a salary earner, it's rather direct. But if you have other incomes, like now, because of the internet, we are allowed to do a lot of side hustle.
Correct.
There needs to be a bank-in statement of the salary from a company. Then there needs to be a salary voucher to indicate. Then there needs to be proofs. There needs to be an engagement agreement. Then only the banks will use those as legit income. If not, right, a lot of people just like, that time I worked really hard, but none of it was calculated.
Yep.
So this is when like we are trying very hard to qualify for a higher loan. Like, because of us being in the industry long enough, we know where to buy, what to buy. The only goal is to buy as much as possible. So that's a very different problem altogether. But that leads to my next one. Don't be too greedy to the extent where you fake information.
Correct. I think that is a red flag.
Right.
That is really a red flag. You're buying beyond your means. Property investment is not guaranteed to make money. Despite a lot of people saying that, it is. No, it is not. So if you have to fake documents, don't. It's against the law.
And I cannot think of anything more obvious, right, to tell you cannot afford.
Yeah.
So banks say no, everybody say no, your family say no, maybe your dog also say no already. Cannot. But you still want to die, go and fake a company, fix it. And that is the main reason why banks are so stringent in the loan application right now. Like they ask for everything.
Correct.
So it makes things very difficult for us. Then also, so if you're paying within your means, and I personally have a very, very bad experience with that because I think he knows the story inside out. It was a very scary point of life that you are very worried about installments. Like, I barely have any money to eat and for a property.
Yep.
So every day the bank will call, Sean, your installment belum bayar, yeah? And so I have 4 banks calling. Oh my God, for what? Seriously, right? Okay, enough of the sad things. Moving on. After you qualify the loan, you get the unit ready. Then now you need to wait for 3 to 4 years time. A thing to point out here is a lot of people now only start researching.
Yeah. Correct.
So
true.
Just to when they share, hey, I buy this project, right? Good.
I think it's no longer called researching. It's called trying to validate your purchases or justify, right?
Yeah, so it's very common in my world where people are like, hey, Sean, I buy this already. You think okay? What you want me to say?
Buy already.
Oh, so it's terrible. Then you want to cancel, cannot.
Correct.
So I think don't do that. So always make informed decisions. And we've moved a little bit further when you get your keys. What are the common mistakes that you see?
I think when you get your keys, a lot of people need to go through the process. It's called vacant possession, where you get your keys, and then after that you will need to submit your defect checks. Okay, so I think there are 2 schools of thoughts, right? If you're buying the property for your own stay, you want it to be as perfect as possible, understandable. I feel that if you are waiting to rent it out, you're planning to rent it out, then this is where things get a little bit tricky. You need to decide, is it worthwhile waiting 30 days for the developer to fix the defect that you raised? Or does it make more financial sense to start renting it out now and start generating income? Because don't forget, your installment is also your monthly cost. If you wait 3 months before you can rent it out, 80% of your installment goes to interest. And with the 80%, actually you can buy a new aircon with that, right? Or a new TV. That is real hard-earned money. But if you get it rented out early, you offset the installment payments, your interest payments, and that's when I feel there's forced savings. So it's a good thing.
Yep.
So identifying what to wait and what not to wait, I think is a crucial thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you have any tips of what is crucial, what is not?
I gave it a lot of thought, but I differentiate it into functional and aesthetics.
I think that's a very good way.
Right. So as long as water is working, electric is working, everything is safe, jalan.
Right.
A crooked wall, no one's gonna care. Right? If you are staying in like what Gavin shared, I'm going to look at the crooked wall every day for the rest of my life.
Of course, I care.
Right?
Yeah.
But if it's for the tenant, and sometimes you make people fix the paint, but right after they fix, right, then you put wallpaper. Then also, if you have a strategy of what to do with the unit, then it can be accustomed to your strategy. But generally, that's how I look at it. Personally, I have not get any. I got one new unit before, and it was terrible. So it was so bad that I gave up. And that is when another problem is a lot of people don't know your rights as a consumer. Yes, you can complain, but sometimes, this one empty. At a place where nobody steps, then what for? But because if you send in an application, you need to wait for 30 days. You cannot do anything else. Because they will think that, you sabo kind of things. But also another way of thinking is if you fix things, then it affects the actual unit. layout. So let's say piping. If you want to I want to fix up a cabinet, I want to fix up for my kitchen, but suddenly only I realize the water is not working.
Yep. Or
Then-
there's a potential leak, right? Yeah.
Then whose fault is it? So those are the gray areas where it's case by case basis. Sometimes it's really the developer's fault, but sometimes it's just a contractor's fault. But which contractor will admit, right? Okay. Okay, very good. Yeah, so after that, right, then there's this debate to let's stick to investment, to fully furnish or not.
Wait. Before we stick to that, right? I think there's a very good benchmark or at least I think it's a good benchmark to use, right? When deciding what to file for defects or what to repair on your own or when to forego the defects, right? To me, if the cost of repair is less than 1 month of the installment, it's actually cheaper for you to do it yourself. Because don't forget, right? If you wait 30 days for a developer fix, your cost is also 1 month installment because that's 1 month later that you get rental returns.
Wow, that's a great way of thinking.
Yeah. So waiting costs you money, but if I don't need to wait, I can straight away on the go. To me, that is 1 month installment saved.
And it's a chain reaction thing. Like because of one particular area you want to fix, all the contractors cannot start work.
Correct. And it's not just that, it's also go to market speed, right? Because let's say if a newly VP, everyone is doing their defects. If you're the first few and you forego some of the defect check, right? Of course, considering it's minor and you forego and then you get it rented out fast, you're the first few in the market, you'll probably be low supply, right? Because there's very few fully furnished units out for rent when everyone is doing. But if you wait until the defects all gao dim, everything all done, your neighbors also everyone done, right? And that's when you go to market together with the huge supply. There is, I believe there's a lot of advantages in doing things fast and going to market early when the supply is low and the building is hyped up.
Well said, nothing to add. Then only moving on, a lot of people then have this huge debate until today, like we clarified many times about furnishings. So my take on it is, again, back to the strategy and the game plan.
Correct.
If you have a game plan and what investors like, not we, but what property investors like is property with multiple rental options.
Correct.
So let's say if I can rent out to long-term, short-term, Airbnb, by room, it's best that my property can accommodate to all these type of different.
Correct.
And then only decide whether I want to fully furnish in accordance to those strategy.
Correct.
Right? Unfortunately, everyone buys the property, don't even know whether they want to use it for own stay or rental. Then it becomes a huge problem.
Correct. Because after that, if you want to rent, then of course there are subsets, right? Rent to who? That's also a second thing. So if even the level 1 is not decided, then obviously the subsets won't be clear to you.
Yep. And because he is in the business, so we have seen like different locations will have different preference of different finishes. But if money is an issue, just DIY, right? Do your best, use your own time, be your own designer. But sometimes a lot of people try to do it their own. And how many amounts of leave are you going to take for your unit? Everyone underestimated delivery.
Correct. Correct. Even my first property also, when I was furnishing it myself, I really underestimated the amount of deliveries, right? That I need to take time off work to open the door and accept deliveries.
Boss, sudah sampai. Gate. Sampai gate. Oh, boss tak boleh sampai hari ni. Besok. Then my boss almost want to kill me back then.
Correct.
Luckily, it's not him lah. So it's crazy that the amount of time required is not taught and not shared.
Correct.
Time cost of yourself is also cost.
Yep.
And everyone thinks that but now I think it's better, like there are pictures to refer to, right? So the choices they make. And I think all furnishing companies now kind of go in that concept of space instead of individualized, putting plates and chairs next to each other, right? Now everything is done up really nice. You can just mimic or copy if you have absolutely no clue like me. Then like personally, all my property, like not all lah, most of my recent properties all furnished by the makeover guys, and the main benefit there is the futuristic design.
Futuristic, is that the right word?
I don't know.
Future proof.
Yeah, 僵尸老的辣. So I realized because of if you have not been a landlord before, there will always be this fear people not going to rent your unit. So by having the unit look as good as it is, right? Like during MCO, I changed 3 to 4 tenants, and the downtime is only 2 weeks.
Wow, nice.
I also like a bit like wow, and it's all because the unit looks awesome in picture.
Yep.
You know
Picture
what I
is one of the crucial elements in renting, right?
Mm.
Because that's what decides whether the tenant picks up the phone to call or not.
Mm. So like I think the mistake there is a lot of people don't put themselves as tenant. Then if you understand how tenant looks for unit, what tenants consider in a unit, then you will always have this doubt of why people want to rent my unit. Then might as well. Then I think you are in a very different asset class already, right? Because ultimately we are all leveraging on people's time and money, and yeah. So that's the whole property investment game. If you don't like all this lecheness, this coordination work, pay somebody to do it, or it's just not for you lah. I think that's one of the big things also.
Yeah.
Let's move into tenancy agreement.
Mm.
What's the common mistakes that you see there?
The common mistake is believing that there is a standard tenancy.
Okay.
Because ultimately that's what everyone's going to tell you, right? Oh, this is a standard tenancy agreement.
And this is a standard price.
Standard. There's no such thing as a standard tenancy agreement. I think a lot of agencies have their version of tenancy agreement.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's not standard across the board. So do take a look lah. Make sure you actually read through what's stipulated inside the tenancy agreement.
Yep. So especially like maintenance for aircons, deposit, upfront how much, utility how much.
The condition in which the tenant has to return the unit, cleaning fees before returning. So maintenance, wear and tear. Who is responsible for bulk change, right?
Yep.
But who is responsible for plumbing, more major works? How do you define that? So make sure that's defined in the tenancy agreement.
Yes. And you gotta really go meticulous with it, because it's very leceh one. Like sometimes the switch pecah.
Yeah.
Then I don't want to pay rent because the switch pecah you don't go and fix. Then you are delaying your payment, right? And it affects the records for my next purchase.
Yep.
Because of one switch pecah. Then you so and this is another thing. Okay, I'm in a position of better abundance right now. I can afford property managers, especially so I'm using TPG, so they are managing everything for me. So that is also one thing. When you have a unit, it's not all done, and that my point is property investment is not passive income.
Yep.
If you don't know how to do it, right?
Yep.
My toilet leaked, so it was the floor trap being stuck on my neighbor's upstairs. The coordination work just to get the quotation right took 4 months.
Yeah, because you need to wait until the owner upstairs is around before they can actually go in. And sometimes your neighbors may not be so accommodating, right? Because I'm not the one who's experiencing leaks. My house is in perfect condition. Yeah, so sometimes if it's the owner that's staying, maybe it's easier. But sometimes it's the owner's tenant who's staying there, and they may not be incentivized or even motivated to actually accommodate your needs.
Correct. So it's a huge problem for people that are time poor like me. So the coordination work take 4 months, 5 months. So you know what? I decided to just pay somebody to do the communication for me. The actual work took half an hour. Actual work. But to get there took 4 months. Get approval here, get quotation there, get approval. So if you have the expectation of property investment, it's going to be smooth ride. You know, I just rent out. Then it's not. It's anything to add? Like,
a lot of people measure currency as only money is the only currency. To me, time is also a currency, right?
yes.
So do bear in mind, weigh lah. Again, depending on the situation you're in. If you have a lot of time, then obviously save money. But if you don't have enough time and time is a limited currency, then obviously it's sometimes more worthwhile for you to pay for someone to do it.
Yeah.
Like me, I engage property managers as well because I feel that, my attention, all of us have limited attention. Attention is also a currency to me. And it doesn't make sense for me to spend this attention currency on things that is not, my main bread and butter. Yeah.
Spot on. Moving on. After you get the unit rented out already, yay. Start collecting rental already, yay. For me, I should always think about my next purchase already. Me being me, like I'm always trying to work on the next one. This is again back to somewhat to your lifestyle and your life ambitions again, like whether do you want more or do you want less, and don't let anybody tells you that you are wrong.
Yeah.
Right, like why do you need 25 properties? Well, that's my goal, but then again also, like to me, I eat, live, breathe property. That's why the ambition makes sense. To you that you want to live life, you want to go vacation, then it's good to just have one by all means, right?
Yep.
Exit strategy. Have you sold any properties before?
No. So when I buy, actually part of my strategy is also to not sell. Yeah. So to me, of course, I have the option to sell, right? I always have the option to sell, but I don't make it a must do when I plan my entire game plan. Because to me, that doesn't make sense because not every probably we go through a cycle, right? It's not always a seller's market. It could be a buyer's market like it is now. There's ups and downs. If you're pressed to sell, then obviously you're in no room to negotiate. But if you're not pressed to sell, then obviously you have a lot of room to negotiate. It's up to you.
And my observation is because all of his properties rental is above the installment.
Yeah.
So why sell? Right? Why sell a gold? Why sell a duck that's
Correct.
being
And that criteria is part of my initial game plan, and that's also setting the criteria. Of course, you will say, "Wow, so easy to find, man." If you really find, you can find, right?
Because if it's so easy, everybody make money, man. Right. So from a wrong side of the equation, me, I recently just exited the property that gave me very, very hard time. So it was a relief, but I lost money. So it was a decision to decide between losing money or negative cash flow every month. So it was a very bitter pill to swallow. Both sides also lose money. So it's either you want short-term pain or long-term sufferings. So I took the short-term one because I can work on the next one. A lot of people don't want to cut losses. Then they just stuck with one forever, right? And the worst thing is this, like when you have one elderly in the family with a very bad real estate experience, there goes the whole tree of family, right? Like this uncle said, when everybody, hey, I saw Sean Tan share about property, it's cool. No lah, you think he makes a lot of money, eh? Then like, last time my property, I buy Bukit Beruntung. Bukit Beruntung comes out a lot. And yeah, so I think the exit strategy side of things, money also, what was beyond my expectation is to clear off all the departments between banks and lawyers and land officers and things like that, right? I think I sold my property like 6 months ago. I still haven't seen the money yet. And that's the biggest problem for property.
It's really not a liquid asset. It's not liquid at all.
Yeah, so a lot of people think, oh, you can get money. Like, I think we both refinanced before.
I've done multiple rounds of refinancing.
So I think refinancing is way faster than to sell the property. And if it's a leasehold, worse. So I think the expectation is only a mistake when the expectation is not tallied. Then exit strategy. Then how do you work on your second property after your first one?
again, have a game plan. Be a bit focused. Don't get emotional. Investment is facts and numbers. And again, back to DSR, right? If you understand how banks qualify loans and what is considered income, it actually helps you plan for your next property. For example, my basic salary, banks will usually knock off 20%, right, for EPF, for income tax.
Yep.
So that's my net income. But there are a lot of banks, there are certain banks who recognize rental income as 100%. Of course, there are some who recognize it as 80%, but there are banks who take a full 100% of the rental income. So, which is why it's important to be the first to go to market, rent it out, get the tenancy agreement stamped. Make sure you stamp it so that you can, so that the banks recognize it as a legit income. Don't save on the stamping money.
What my auntie scold me last time? Pound foolish.
Penny wise, pound foolish.
Yes.
Correct. Penny wise, pound foolish.
To save that few $100, right? Then you lose like a 30,000 in terms of income to your annual statement, right?
Yeah.
Which can qualify you for the next pot of gold.
Yeah.
I made it so that's why I kind of felt it. That's for the next purchase. But then, have you explored other form of investments besides property?
Actually, honestly, I'm not that smart. Right? So when I look at stock market,
I shouldn't laugh so loud.
look at crypto, I can't understand it at all. So I tried to dabble into it, but I think to me it's more like experimenting. Property is still my bread and butter. My biggest portfolio is still property because it's so easy to understand, right? And it's tangible, it's legit. That building is right there in front of me, and the need for property is real. Everyone needs a home.
Yeah. Culturally, we are ingrained. Like just now we say, you don't have a property, you are not cool. When you are 40, you don't have a property, you're a loser. No, I'm just saying. No, I say one. Auntie say one.
I think times have changed now. Is you don't have crypto, you are a loser.
I got a lot.
I don't have. I'm still learning.
And I think that is so going into my point. Like now, there are just way more different investment assets to go into. And back then, we only had stocks where you go TV Tiga and you switch to the
what is it called? Teletext.
Then there's like the red, blue, green. And that's how I started my share journey also. Didn't really make enough money. But then got property, then got Forex that was deemed illegal back then. Then you want to invest? Like that only. So you need
gold.
What's that?
Gold.
You so old school.
Yeah.
So not many choices, but now right, I can buy any share, US share, crypto,
NFTs.
Anything you want, right, with this. So you got money or not only. So now you need to know, because different assets are available, they all have different behaviors.
And there are different roles also in your entire portfolio.
Yes. So which one suits you better? Like when you're 25, you are like fighting, I can afford to lose everything because knowing that my salary will come in 28. By all means, I will risk it all. I risk it all. Right? Nobody's going to say no, but you need to be informed about it. A lot of people then expect property to make them quick buck.
Yeah. But no, it's a very boring game.
Very. And that's why we love it.
But I love it because it's so boring, it's so predictable.
Yeah, nothing's going to happen.
Yeah. That's why I love it.
Like personally, after the MCO, like did it affect you in terms of investment?
Of course. So especially during the MCO, right? So of course, tenants, sometimes they are also in financial problems, right?
Yep.
So there are a lot of pay cuts and all that. So they also ask for discount, which I happily gave. But we're very lucky because I think the government did two things very well. Number one, they introduced the moratorium to take the pressure off homeowners. The second part is lowering of OPR. So with this means our holding cost is lower, means also we can offer lower rates. Yeah.
So for those who don't understand, it's the interest rates was revised to the decade low.
Yeah.
That's why now people increase a little bit, then people complain, right? To us, it's like...
It's still very low.
Yeah, so, and to young people, especially if you're watching this and you're below like 28, right? I would advise to get into the game as early as possible, because let time be on your side as early as possible.
Yep.
So how are you going to promise yourself, right, that in 10 years' time things are going to get better? But if I have a property that is tenanted,
Yep.
I can actually make that promise.
Yeah. Agree.
Right.
Agree.
And with their, because I kind of followed them, so their strategy also implies like how I wish like to buy a property without the intention of selling is the strategy. So it needs to make sense every single month. And if every single month I make nothing, but in 30 years time the property is mine, why not? Right? So we fully address people's need by leveraging on them at the same time lah.
Correct. And also when you get a loan, you're locking in your installment rates today. 1,005 installment today, and in 30 years time will be very different.
Yes.
In 30 years, 1,005 could be very little money.
That time Milo paying is like $15 already. I think.
If Milo is $15, yeah. But you're locking in the installments today.
Yeah, also that I think, and this concept of equity that I understood later, like 20 years down the road, there are equities being built within the property itself, which allows us to refinance later. And
Yep.
most of the time, that equity is more than the amount I have in my savings account.
Correct. So like I said, exit selling is not one of my strategies, but actually refinancing is. So if the rentals have gone up and the property price have gone up, what you can actually do is actually refinance to match the current rental rate, and actually that money is as good as you cashing out.
And the next point, like when he brought up, right, this is also weird because that we keep sharing good stuff. Oh, property is the way to go, right? We are biased because we made our money there. Not all the time. And it's very uncommon for people to share their bad experience for property, right? And like, unfortunately, not all properties make money. Just like
Yep.
not all share makes
Yep.
money. Not
No.
all counters make money.
Yep.
Right? So it's like maybe 5 out of 500 that really makes money. But in property, you get to predict. Like hot places, like in fingertips, like KL Central, Mount Kera, all those hot places, sure, still got one. And there's existing data for you to follow, existing game plans for you to follow. It's whether you want or not only. Like for crypto, people blindly still go in, but people burn their hands at time. I burn a little bit with the recent one. So it's fine because there's experience, but a lot of people all in, then it's also trouble. So again, I think ultimately it's all the same. We're talking about the same thing using different examples only. Is to make informed decisions.
And invest only what you can afford.
To play within the same your
Don't
affordability.
over leverage.
This one is very hurtful for me. And anything else you want to add on before we wrap up?
Also, one common mistake in the tenancy part, right, is not treating your tenants like customers.
Oh, that's a big one.
Yeah. So I think that that mindset is very different, right? So for example, if you're in a sales job, you've got a $30,000 client, you will actually go out of your way to serve the $30,000 client, right? You will actually maybe even bring donuts, buy coffee, serve. But don't forget that your tenant at $2,500 per month is actually a $30,000 yearly contract that is signing with you. And a lot of people think that, wow, I'm landlord. This landlord word is also so powerful because it's got lord in it. And tenant at the bottom. Actually, that's not true, you know. Honestly, I think they are the ones giving us a $30,000 contract. We should be serving them. But of course, there are guidelines, which is why we say, look in the tenancy agreement, agree on something. So certain things is your responsibility. Do it with a smile, right? It's part of your role. Instead of just providing a space, it's also to make sure that the space is worthy, up to standard, which also means the plumbing and all that. Make sure you
need to be safe, it needs to be functional.
Yeah. So that's part of your responsibility, and don't think of that as a or
like a job like that.
Problem yeah, a lot of people lose sight It is a $30,000 contract.
Suddenly, like I think that's true. Like you think, you need to change, like, but my tenant are terrible. And okay, since we're talking about tenants, right? Tenants from below always are more famous online. A lot of people share like their very horrible experience with tenants, right? But personally, I have encountered 1 out of 20 or 30 tenants. Have you encountered any?
I've been through. I think I've been through like what 40, 50 tenancies, or maybe more. And actually, honestly, generally people are good. My point is, generally people are good, but it's the bad ones that get a lot of attention.
Yeah.
Right, and that
People won't go around like, hey, my tenant damn good, way.
No.
You want or not?
correct. And out of this 40, 50, or maybe even 60 cycles, I think I probably only had 1, right? And it didn't really go very bad as well. Didn't pay rent, few months, asked him to move out. He said that he really didn't have money. I wanted, then of course I got security deposits to cover. And we left it at that lah. To me, that's bad lah.
Like the one that damaged the whole unit, right? I think to a certain extent, the landlord has some roles in it as well. That's why it takes a lot of effort to damage a unit, one.
Yeah, and if you treat tenants with respect, right? I mean, as your customers, right? I mean, do put in some effort to get to know them, because like I said, it is a contract, and it's not a short contract. It's going to be a year contract. And you hope that they will extend. I actually know my tenants personally, and that serves as a mutual respect, and that's a good foundation of a good relationship.
So cool, right? And you just repeat that process for 30 years. The property is yours.
Yeah, you only need to work 30 times.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And I think that's all. Like, we can go on and on. Like, you give us another 2 hours, I think we still have things to talk about, because this is our bread and butter and it's our passion as well. So where can people find you?
Just drop me a message anytime. If you search us on Facebook, The Makeover Guys,
Facebook, Instagram,
Instagram.
And I guess that's all. Thank you very much for watching. And if you really like this episode, like it, share it, and even subscribe for more information like this. Until next time, this is Sean Tan. Ciao.